Health is life. Your health matters. You matter. Health begins in the spirit and the mind. Take time to love you. Live well. Be well.
Let's go!
Health matters to me.
Come on, get up, cause you tuned into the station for your morning motivation to get your education for your health and your spiritual needs.
Health matters to me.
Yeah, strong will to empower the people, to promote the peace, though. Positive attitudes, behavior, that's a lifelong dream goal.
Health matters to me.
Yeah, health matters and we're here to help you become a better you, to be the best version you can be.
Health matters to me.
Yeah, and it's time for this classic, fantastic food for your soul. Here's Jackie and Coach Patrick right here. Let's go.
Health matters to me.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yes, this is me, Coach Patrick. I'm by myself on today. I don't have my partner in crime with me. I kind of feel kind of lonely, y'all. So y'all be with me out there, all right? But I just want to say good morning. This is Coach Patrick again. Welcome to Health Matters Live podcast, where your health matters. Join us every Saturday right here at 9 a.m. as we bring you relevant information pertaining to your health and well-being. We'll have healthcare professionals and other professionals on the show from time to time to assist us in helping you to be the best you that you can be as it pertains to your health and your well-being. So make sure you like our Facebook page at Get Fit with Jackie Fitness and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Health Matters Jackie and Coach. Make sure you do that for us, all right? I want to say happy birthday and happy anniversary to everyone that's celebrating a birthday or anniversary in this great month of April. You know, we're in the springtime and life is coming. So just want to, you know, trees are coming back to life and things like that. I love this time of year to see things starting to bud up and bloom again and things coming back to life. So happy birthday, happy anniversary to everyone that's celebrating birthday or anniversary. Make sure you celebrate yourself, enjoy yourself, and make many, many more. All right, so I want to recognize our sponsors, partners, and friend, Aiken Chiropractic. Dr. Dan, when your spine is aligned, your body is too. Aiken Chiropractic is located at 425 Lawrence Street Northwest in Aiken, South Carolina. Their number is 803-641-9191, and their website is www.aikenchiropractic.com. To be a sponsor, partner, or friend of the broadcast, you can call 706-592-8862 to help us do what we do on a daily basis, not just broadcasting on Saturdays, but the things we do in the community to bring prevention and management and chronic diseases free to the public. We bring those type of sessions to the community. So help us do what we do by being a sponsor, by being a partner or a friend. Well, we're going to have an awesome show today. We got Dr. Dan and friend on the show today, Miss Kay Benitez, and we're looking forward to them, to their interview on today. We know it's going to be fun. We know it's going to be very informative for you. A lot of things to put out. So looking forward to it. So without any further ado, I want to bring on Dr. Dan and Miss Kay Benitez. Well, hello. How you doing?
Excellent. Excellent.
Awesome. Enjoying this good spring weather.
Oh yeah.
Okay, great. So, okay, Dr. Dan, again, we always look forward to your monthly, interview spot that you have with us. You always bring a wealth of information. I always have great guests from time to time. And so we enjoy that. And the people that tune in, they enjoy it also. So what you got for us today?
Yeah, so we got some interesting things today. First of all, I'm missing Jackie. It seems like today's there, It's a little hard to just have both of you there.
Yeah,
I understand she's busy, so you got to do what you got to do. But we'll make it fun today.
Yes.
We have a very interesting conversation today. We're going to follow up on what we actually talked about a month ago. If the viewers remember, there was a gentleman here as my guest as well. And he does these mission trips to Peru. So he talked about Peru and everything else. But if you remember, he actually mentioned this several times, and he made me think of Miss K over here. He actually mentioned when they are, helping the Peruvian people, they are extremely poor and all that. They're trying to make sure they can actually be enabled to provide for themselves and teach them some skills, so they're not just depending on their help. And that made me think of you. So, Miss K is the CEO of a very interesting organization that I know of for a number of years now. And I'm going to ask her first. We're going to talk about a little bit what the name of that means, and I'll tell you in a second what the name it is, and then explain a little bit, why she does what she do and what does the organization do. So the organization is called the Medigo Station, and I thought that was a very interesting name, and I want to have her introduce, why they came up with that name.
So it's Megiddo Train Station, and when we started in 2012, Mr. Weldon Wyatt's the person who kind of helped us get started, and he said, "I want you to name it something that had something about God or something to give people hope." But we have Hope Center, we have Grace Center, we have all these things, and he said, "So you're going to have to be unique, but we want something in the name." So I was praying about it and trying to decide what to do. And I kept having this thought that it needed to be Megiddo.
Mm-hmm.
And I was resistant to that. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But anyway, I kept hearing, and I was like, I've traveled to Israel several times, so I'm very familiar with Megiddo and the area. It's got a great history there. And, but I wasn't sure that that's what I wanted to name it. For one thing, it's hard to pronounce, it's hard to spell, all of those kind of things. But so why not? We need something easier that people can relate to a little better. But I kept feeling that was the name we were supposed to give it. And then out of the blue, a tour guide that I went on, that was my tour guide in 1999, so 13 years earlier, reached out to me through email and said, "The weirdest thing happened. I found a roll of film in one of my drawers at home, thinking it was family film. I finally found somebody to process it. They processed it, and it's your tour."
Wow.
And he said, so the pictures are in bad shape. It's been so long since it was taken. He said, but there were a few that you can tell, and I thought you might enjoy them, so I scanned them and sent them to you through email. And I opened them up, and every picture, somebody was standing beside a sign with Megiddo.
Oh.
Okay. So I was like, okay, maybe that is what I was supposed to.
That's your answer.
I'm a little bit stubborn, and I was still like, no, and honest to God, this people, when I say this, they don't believe me, but it is the truth. My doorbell rings, and I have a package from Amazon, and that was many years ago when I didn't have packages from Amazon every day. I was like, what in the world did I order from Amazon? Ask my husband. I'm thinking, even though it has my name on it, I'm thinking it's his. I was like, you got a package from Amazon, because I hadn't ordered it. He said, I hadn't ordered anything. Krista hadn't. Nobody had ordered anything. I said, well, I guess maybe somebody sent me something. I opened it up, and it was a DVD entitled Megiddo.
Wow.
And I said, okay, God, you got my attention now, right?
Got it now.
So I said, why do you want me to call it Megiddo? And the reason I was a little bit resistant, a lot of people may not realize this, but that is the Hebrew word for Armageddon. The fields of Megiddo is where Armageddon is going to be. And, like, I don't want to name it an end time name. That sounds, a little bit catastrophic or a little bit scary. And I said, why do you want me to name it that? And I got a very clear answer. I won't say he spoke to me, but an understanding that was because you're going to be in battle.
Mm.
You're going to be in battle. And because people will be concerned about their financial health, but also their mental health, their spiritual health, all of those things that matter. Because you're not just helping somebody get a job. The people that come here are going to be dealing with a lot more than just that.
That's good.
And he said, and what you need to know is you and your staff and your volunteers need to know that this is battleground.
Wow.
Not to take it personally when people are having a bad day, not to take it personally when people are struggling, but to understand there's a real battle going on.
Mhm.
And then he said, but also to understand who wins. Because Armageddon is actually not going to be catastrophic for those of us who are believers.
That's right.
And
That's,
because we know who wins that final battle.
that's right. We
And
got
saying, as long as you can stand on that, you can win those battles. So
Wow.
that's why we ended up naming it Megiddo. And so from the very start, before we ever opened the door, had the first volunteer or anything, we came in alignment with the fact that health matters,
Mhm.
Mm,
not just getting a job. Mental health matters.
yeah.
Spiritual health matters.
Every
Financial
area.
health matters.
Every area. Yeah.
All of those things are important. So
Right.
that's kind of where we started. We knew that we wanted to provide a job training program that would help people who, in most cases, had been out of work for a very long time. Because we developed an 8-week program. So if a person's like ready, if they're job ready and they can go to work tomorrow, they shouldn't come through our program. It's
Mm.
not designed for people who are employable and able, it's just, it's shifting. It's
Right.
designed for people who have struggled to get a job or keep a job.
Okay.
And because we help with financial things, we have a finance class, we have project management classes, we have classes about getting along with people, conflict management, anger management,
Wow.
goal setting, all of those sorts of things. Because when we first started, before we started, one of the things that I realized is a lot of job training programs are not really putting people to work.
Wow. Wow.
They're in fact, the statistic nationwide was around 8% of
Mhm.
the people that went through job training programs actually got a job and kept it for more than a month.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm a little bit of a nerd. When I was in school, I was the person who cried when I made less than 95 on the test. So I'm like, hey,
I was
not gonna work for
rejoicing
me.
if I made 95. I was rejoicing.
I was just one of the, it wasn't that I was just one of those. I just did not like do it. I wanted to do everything at 100%. And so the thought of 8%, or like some of the best programs in the country were 13%. And the thought of that, in fact, I told my husband after I gathered all this information after doing lots of research. I said, I can't do 13%. And he said, well, you better figure something out because you already quit your job and started this one. We got kids in college. You better figure. And I
Yeah.
said, so I decided what I needed to do was go talk to businesses and find out why people weren't getting jobs or why they weren't keeping jobs when they got them. Because that's as big an issue as not getting a job.
Mhm.
So many people get a job and a week later they're out of work again. And so I talked to 83 different businesses across the CSRA, all the way from a little mom and pop type place that had 2 employees to Bridgestone and UPS and MTU. I talked to all different sizes of businesses, all different backgrounds, all different types, and said, why are people losing their job or not getting in the door?
Mhm.
And what I found out from all 83, their number one concern was people showing up for work or leaving early or coming in late.
Wow.
All 83, that was their number one issue.
Wow.
And that was before COVID. And it's even worse now, right? I mean,
Mhm.
after
Mhm.
we've been out in the market, we realize that there are people that are still not showing up for work. But and so in looking at the training program, we're like, how do you train people to be there?
Mhm.
And so we're very strict about attendance because we know that's such a big deal for the employer. And so we have a very strict attendance policy. If they miss too many days, they can't graduate from the program.
Okay.
We've had quite a few people who had come in the program, missed too many days, thought we were going to give them a break, and I say, but you don't understand. I can't put the name of Megiddo on the line by putting you into the workforce if you're not ready,
That's right.
because that'll impact the lives of people behind you.
And when
You'll close
when
doors.
and Kay, if I could just interject, and when we hold people to a standard, they tend to get better. If you just allow them, to do what they're always used to doing, then take that, like you say, when you do get them in the workplace, they'll take that, with them, and they won't perform, to their best effort. But when you hold them and make them accountable, as you train them, then that helps a lot.
One of the first people that we didn't allow to graduate was a young lady, single mom. I think at that time she had 3 kids and one on the way, and I loved her. I mean, she was just I mean, she was a wonderful person. She missed too many days,
Mhm.
and we had to tell her, you're not going to graduate. We can't do that, and it broke my heart because I wanted to give her a break, but I knew that I couldn't because that would be setting a precedent in the future.
Ultimately, if you do that, you will really not helping her because you will not teach her any proper,
That's right.
lesson there because she would think she can get away with it, and she
Absolutely.
will keep that at whatever job she
Yeah.
gets, and she won't keep those jobs.
And
So
that's
it's not helping them.
that's exactly right. So I told her, I said, "You're welcome to come back next time and
Mhm.
start all over." She came back. Well, she went and found a job and lost it,
Mhm.
And so she came back about 2 classes later, had perfect attendance, graduated with honors, did all the things, graduate with honors,
Wow.
got a job, has done beautiful, she has purchased her own home.
Wow.
You
Awesome.
know, all of those things that were totally out of it. Well, that's what it was
Yeah.
actually so exciting because when we held her to that standard, and I told her when I told her that day that she went back, I said, I want you in this program. I want you to be a McGuido graduate,
Mhm.
probably more than you do at this point. I said, I I see the difference it can make in your family, what it could do for you. I said, please come back. I was so delighted when she came back and so excited when she bought her home. The first call she made after
Mhm.
she bought the home was to me.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Like she was telling me when she was going through the process, and then when it was a done deal, she gave me a call. She said, "It's done."
Wow.
She
That's
was so,
awesome.
and so, and I look at that, and I know that if we had let her graduate, she would have not been where she was because
Right.
she didn't have that work ethic. She didn't understand the importance of that work ethic.
Right. That's
And
good. That's
and
awesome.
so, helping her to do that. So the other thing that came up in that interview, in addition to being there, being on time and all of those kind of things, was getting along with each other. The problems in the workplace with people not getting along, not showing respect, all of those sorts of things. So we started the conflict management class, anger management class, and we also trained the volunteers. So if the person coming in doesn't treat you with respect, you need to call them on it in a loving way, in a way that shows, I understand you might not understand that this is not respectful,
Mhm.
but we can't act like that in the workplace. And so we're not going to act like that in the classroom either.
That is
And
so good. That is so good because I like how you identified a problem and then you put things in place to get to the root of it. Let's get to the root of that problem so that when we feel that you're prepared and we set you out there, then something doesn't trigger that root and these things come up. You treat people wrong, you talk to people wrong, you're not reliable,
Yeah.
dependable. So we're going to deal with those things as we train you and give you other skills. But there are some basic things that you need and able to maintain and sustain, what we're teaching you. I love it. I love it.
yeah, and we tell them when talking about respect, you deserve to be respected too. Uh, but understand sometimes that boss has got a job to do, and they're not really so concerned about your feelings as they are about getting that job done. So being able to say, okay, I'm going to make sure I accomplish what I'm supposed to accomplish today. And maybe I'll have a talk with my boss and just say, I need you to know that when you said that or did that, this is how it felt to me.
Mhm.
Because a lot of bosses don't, they just don't think about it. So also holding them accountable, but also understand ultimately, if you're in that workplace, your job is to finish the task
Right.
that's just been assigned to you. And of course, the other thing that they said, which goes along with that, was completing the job. And when they complete the job, standing around and wanting to be on their phone. In other words, working the whole time that they're there.
Mhm.
And so we do, one of the things our students have to do is at least 20 hours of volunteer service. And the reason that we do that is so we can, they're volunteering, but so that we can see how they work. When they're given a job, do they go out and hit it full blast, or do they act forward, or do they, how do they enter and talk about how that looks, about what you're doing?
Mhm.
And when you finish something, do you say, what else do I need to do, or just sit there and look at everybody else's work? So we talk about those things. And one of my favorite examples I like to use, I have one guy who was great. He was a great student. He was always, anything you needed him to do, he was glad to do it. He's been very successful in the workplaces. But one day we were doing just a yard cleanup at Megiddo, and his job was to mow the grass. And I looked at it, he wasn't mowing grass. He hadn't cranked the lawnmower in, and it just was so totally out of character for him. I said, "Is everything okay? Are you feeling okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I said, and he never said anything. He said, "Well, I need to know why you're not, why you're not doing it." He goes, "Well, I didn't want to say anything, but I don't know how to crank a lawnmower."
Oh, wow.
He said what now? I didn't
I
catch
don't
it.
know how to crank a lawnmower.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He
Never
had
did.
lived in government housing. He was 30 something years old, but had always lived in a place where the grass was cut.
Wow.
Never had a lawnmower, didn't know how to, and he was embarrassed to say so.
Mhm.
And I told him, and that gave us a great learning opportunity for him and the class to say, there are going to be situations at work where you don't know how to do what they've asked you to do.
That's right. That's right.
You must say, please explain to me how I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do that. Because otherwise it looks like you're just being lazy. I knew this guy well enough to know he was not just being lazy. That's not who he is.
Mhm.
But said an employer could look at that and just say, well, I told them to do whatever, and they're just standing around. I said, you must, if you don't understand the rules, just say, I don't understand. I need you to train me on this. I haven't been trained, or I don't know how to do this. And that's okay. I said, an employer would love for you to do that instead of you trying to do it and possibly creating a safety issue or creating a product that's not what we want.
I mean,
That's good.
And just being able to tie all of that into just seeing that he wasn't working. And then, the other is, of course, when people would finish whatever we had told them to do, they'd stand around and look at everybody else. No, you all work together to get the job done. And so we found that we tried to create a program that had all of those things captured in it, like the classes to talk about social skills and the volunteer opportunities, as well as classes talking about working while you're there. We make them put up their phones when they're there.
Yes.
As we said, phone has no place in the workplace.
That's right.
You need to find out if there's an emergency at my home, how can somebody get in touch with me?
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be through your cell phone, unless you've told everybody not to call you from this hour to this hour. And that's the other thing. Let your family know you're working and you don't take calls at work. Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, like my parents, if I get a phone call from my parents during the day, I know somebody's on the way to the hospital.
Mhm.
Because they know they don't call during those hours unless it's something important or something smart, not just because, I thought about so and so.
Yeah.
I tell them, if you do that and you're afraid you'll forget, text me. Because I can look at text whenever.
Right.
But and that'll help us remember to have that conversation later. But and just helping them to learn, because it's not that they wouldn't be going through the program if they didn't want to be a quality employee,
Right.
if they didn't want opportunity. But they're doing behaviors that from the outside world looks like they must not really want to work.
Now you say the job training program is an 8-week program?
It is.
Okay, and how many sessions per week?
4 days a week.
4 days a week?
Monday through Thursday from 9 to 1:30.
Okay, so that's almost like a job within itself,
That's right. And that's what we're trying to create, is like anybody can go to a class once a week and be on time.
Right.
But part of the reason we do it the way we do it is because we want them for 8 weeks to show us that they're going to show up, they're going to do what they need to do, and they're going to accomplish what they need to accomplish.
They created a good habit.
Yeah, they created it. And it's interesting because what we see over and over again is like around week 4 and 5, this change.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing that is it that we believe is that every person that comes in the class was fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
Every person that comes in that class,
That's
God
right.
has a plan for them, and it is good.
That's right.
And we also believe that no matter what they've done, God's grace can cover it.
That's it.
And that He, that God's not up there going, oh, what am I going to do with them? They just made a mess of their life. That's not the way God works, right?
Looks
So-
past their faults and see their need. Yeah.
That's right. And so being able to help them to understand that, because I can't tell you how many times I've had people that God would never forgive me for what I've done. And I was like, let me tell you the story about Saul. He killed Christians. How many? You killed a lot of Christians this week?
He was the chief. He was the chief of sinners.
Yeah. Let me tell you about David. You probably heard of David and Goliath, but have you heard about David and Bathsheba?
Yeah.
And so telling them that even these men of great faith made mistakes,
That's right.
and God used them anyway.
Mhm.
And to say you have purpose, and we don't try to make it a Bible college or anything like that, but we want them to experience from our volunteers and from the people they're working with that grace, that belief, that positive input.
Mhm.
That, and I'll ask them when I go in there, how many of you can honestly say that you acted today in a way that says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's that spiritual wellness component, which is very important in every area of our life, for people to make that connection, and it may look different for everybody, but they need to make that connection and understand that they have help, they have help, and to have faith, and to have believe in that help that they have as they're on their journey.
Yeah. And being able to see that they haven't gone past God's mercy. They haven't done anything that they can't, and some of them have we've had people that come through our program who have murdered people.
Mhm.
We've had people that come through lots of people that have been in prison for 17, 20 years, 25, the longest was 38 years.
Mhm.
And so, we do work with a lot of people who have been incarcerated, and every one of them has gotten a job.
That's awesome.
Like we help them get back into the workforce. But a lot of that has to be a lot of healing and a lot of also taking responsibility.
That's
I'll tell, I had one guy that came in and said, I didn't really I know I went to jail for X number of years and got in a lot of trouble when he was in jail. So, but he said, but I went to jail because my cousin did it and didn't want my cousin to go to prison. I said, well, please don't tell your employer that, because they're going to think one of two things. Either you're a liar or you're an idiot. Nobody's going to think, you good guy, you went to jail, because nobody's going to believe you. And so I said, just take responsibility for what you did. And we tell them, like even in their cover letters and things like that, say, I made some really bad mistakes. I've done my time, and I am prepared to move forward. I want an opportunity to create a life for myself and my family, if they have a family. I want an opportunity to do right by society. I'm ready. I'm ready to be a productive member of society. I'm asking you to give me that opportunity, as opposed to, I was cheated or whatever by the government, whatever it could be. Yeah, being able to take responsibility. And we found that when they do that, people want to give them. And there are some businesses that just, big businesses that can't hire people with felony convictions. That's the corporate decision from sometimes even another country, right?
Right.
Like Bridge Hunt. But there are a lot of businesses that want to give opportunities to people like that. and we've been very successful. We also have a lot of people that have come in that maybe had great jobs, and then because of addictions, they lost those jobs. And sometimes there were criminal charges that went along with that, and sometimes not. But we've had multiple people with master's degrees and doctor's degrees come through the program to try to get back on track, to try to get their life back in order, try
Right.
to put the back the pieces. Again, that health, that spiritual, mental, and physical and financial health that we talked about, being able to pull all of that together and help them to be able to, with confidence, go on that interview and say, I'm the best person for this job.
Awesome, awesome. This is good stuff. So we're talking to
Mhm.
Kay Benitez. Of course, Dr. Dan is on with her. She's on with Dr. Dan, and she's from, let me try to pronounce this right, Megiddo,
That's correct.
Megiddo Station. And we're
Great.
talking about the job training that they provide, the 8 weeks of job training. Now, is that the only thing that Megiddo does? I mean, not to belittle it, that is awesome. I mean, and everything that's tied into it. But are there some other things you do besides the job training?
There is, we're very deliberate in having that be our primary focus. In that, like, we don't do, for instance, we don't have a thrift store because there's a thrift store right down from us. There's a thrift store right down the road. You know, there's all these other things. GED, we don't do GED classes because there's 4 places to do the GED within 5 miles of us.
Okay.
So one of the things that we decided is we wanted to be the premier job training program
Okay.
in the country.
Okay.
Free job training program in the country, by the way. We don't charge anything for it to our students. So we put our resources, our time, our energy, our people into job training. One of the issues that has come up multiple times, both in coming to the training as well as after they get a job, is childcare. That's a big stumbling block. A big
Yes, it
hurdle
is.
for people. You pay more for childcare than what you're making sometimes, yes. And so we have a child care center that works with 3 and 4-year-olds. That is who we're limited to working with there. But we work with 3 and 4-year-olds. And in most cases, it's free to the parent or almost free to the parent. We use the ABC voucher program. That's a state program that helps people who are return to work be able to, the state will pay part of their fee, and then that parent, it's according to how much they're making. But let's say our child care is $125 a month, and the state says you can pay 25, and the state will pay 100
Mm-hmm.
to help that person. And I tell people, I said that's one program I can definitely get behind because I see that we're helping somebody get back into the workforce. It's not
Yes.
just a handy, because
Yeah.
it's not available to people who just want to sit at home. That
Right.
particular program is designed for women and men who are trying to return to work, and childcare is a barrier.
Right.
And so we have that program for the three. And then we also do a first steps program because we want to make sure on the front end that we're doing everything we can to make sure people are successful. So if we can give them that first step, that it's a kindergarten preparation type program.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can make sure that they're prepared for school, they're much more likely to be able to be successful later.
That's awesome.
And so we're looking, we call it from a cradle to graduation.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, you're doing some great things, I tell you.
It's amazing, right? We have this here in our community,
Yeah.
Right.
Our headquarters is in Graniteville, but we have classes that go on in different locations, and we're always looking for different locations. We have churches that might decide to do a class, for one session a year or something like that. They have people in their community that they know will participate in it. We're glad to do that, help with volunteers. People from the church can help volunteer. We also have outside volunteers that we can bring in. Basically, we're a curriculum, and we help find volunteers that can use that curriculum to teach students.
Okay.
And
So let's go ahead and make sure that the people know how they can get in touch with you if they would like to volunteer or if they would even like to do the job training.
Okay. So
And one last question too, is this just for people inside South Carolina or outside in the CSRA, Georgia, South Carolina?
we actually have over 400 locations where we do the job training.
Okay.
About 250 of them are in South Carolina. We have a huge program in Charleston in that area, and then we have some at Greenwood, Greenville, and that area, and Spartanburg and stuff. So we're all over the state. We have some in Evans and Augusta that we have worked with. So
Okay.
we're all over. We're actually in 14 different states.
Awesome.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people are in other states because we haven't done a big promotion to do that, is because we've had volunteers that maybe for instance, the wife was volunteering with us while the husband worked at SRS, and then he retired and moved to Texas, moved back home to Texas
Okay.
where they originally came from. Well, they take the program with them. Like, I want to share this program with the church I'm in now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So several of the locations, that's what it's been. We've also had the opportunity to speak on the national level to different nonprofits and different job training people, and they've incorporated our program into what
That's great.
they're doing. So
That's great.
it's been great because just, I mentioned earlier the normal rate for people getting jobs and keeping them was 13%. 97% of the people that finish our program
Wow.
get a job, and 95% are in the same location a year later. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So that's easier for me to deal with.
That is awesome. You got that 95%. You're not crying about that one though, are you?
No, that's it's and when I see these people like the guy that I mentioned earlier that had been in prison for 38 years, when he came to Megiddo with his first check, weeping, just
Mm.
weeping. He said, "I never thought I'd have a life after being in prison for 38 years."
And that's what makes you happy when you see, what the what you're providing to people when it's really helping them. You know where they started and now you see where they're at. Money can't buy that.
Yeah,
Nothing
absolutely,
can buy
absolutely.
that. When you make an investment into people's lives to see them get better, because it's a trickle down effect. You help this man, you help this woman, you help their children, you help their family. So you rebuild.
That's
That's
right.
awesome. Yeah.
We've had one of our first graduates. I'll never forget when he came in with a birthday cake, and he said, "This is the first time in 8 years I've bought a birthday cake for one of my kids."
Wow.
And he's weeping.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just like, oh. So over time, he said, "I want to be my children's hero. I don't want somebody else buying them bikes. I don't want somebody else buying their food.
Mm.
I want to do that."
Right.
And you've given me the opportunity to do that.
So give us that contact information because I don't think you did.
Okay. So the website is livetheplan.org. Just livetheplan.org. And then phone number is 803-392-7044.
All right. So livetheplan.org, and you guys got the number. And I tell you, if you need some job training, get in touch with Megiddo and see what they can do to help you to get back on your feet or to get back into the society and be a benefit to society with your skills. Is there any specific skills that you guys teach, or how do you determine that?
One of the things that we determined early on in talking to Bridgestone in different places is a lot of them said, we'll train them to do what we need to do. If you make sure they get along with people, that they're here when they're supposed to be, and all of those things, we'll train them.
Mm-hmm.
So we do not do specific. We have done some CNA classes and things in the past, but Aiken Tech has done a great job. Some of the things, like we did a welding class before, and Aiken Tech is doing that. And we're not really into repeating what other places are doing.
Right. Okay.
Because there's such a need. So we do basic develop, interview skills and those kind of skills, but not as far as a specific job.
Okay.
But we can open doors to Bridgestone, and we can open doors to UPS Custom Brokerage, and we can open doors to, to some pretty very nice jobs. In fact, one of the best tire producers at Bridgestone is graduate of Megiddo.
Awesome. Awesome. I tell you, time flies when you're having fun. But this has been great. Dan, I ain't never seen Dr. Dan that quiet.
Well, you
He
know,
may have said 2 or 3 words.
it's okay, it's all good. I love that you do that kind of work in our community, and it looks like nationwide even. I didn't know you had so many locations. That is a huge firm. And why not empower people? I mean, nobody wants just a free handout. That doesn't make anybody happy.
That's
You
right.
want them to make their own life, and that's what makes you satisfied as a person. And all of the stuff you touched upon, as a business owner, I totally see that. I always used to say, 80% of being successful employee is just showing up to work. I mean,
That's right.
and when people don't show up or have excuses or they don't do what they're supposed to do, somebody else has to do it. And when you have a small business, that creates very much negativity. Then people start, liking other people because they gotta do their job and somebody else's if they're not there doing it, and then breeds negativity, and then people don't want to work together anymore. So all of these are really good skills to have. And,
Right.
nobody really teaches that. And, me working what I do, I don't have time to sit with everybody every 2 seconds and babysit. I am busy with patients and I expect my staff to do certain things. And I just can't do it. I don't have all this time. So having this program is amazing. I'm just thinking maybe next time I need a staff person, I got to come through you. Seriously. I wasn't even thinking about it, but now this sounds wonderful. But that's it. So it's great to have this kind of opportunity in our community, being available and help people that can be empowered to be on their own. So I just love it. I mean, I love this kind of stuff. To me, it makes me, there's more than just making money. It's a service about yourself, and that's what you're supposed to do in life.
Right. And when you teach them people skills like that, they're able to be sustained to sustain whatever they do, because you're building that foundation in them, and then they can take that foundation and, like you say, Kay, and take that to wherever job they go to. But
That's right.
those foundational skills, those basic skills on how to socialize with people, and how to handle problems, how to make decisions. All of those things are important. Those
Mhm.
different wellness dimensions, like you mentioned, the spiritual part.
Yeah.
Knowing how to organize your finances and manage your finances. All of those things are going to play a part in you being
Yeah.
successful on the job and in the job. Because, like Dr. Dan said, I don't want to have to hire you and have to tell you every little thing I need you to do. I
But
don't want
the
to
real
be
world, you just don't have the time to do it. I mean, you got to do
right,
your own
right,
job too. So,
right,
we don't have the time. You an adult, do it. And then
right.
if
That's
you can't do it, we'll find somebody else. But that's just the reality of it.
that's need,
But
need to do that.
Ms. K is all about wellness, all this encompassing wellness, as you can see, spiritual wellness,
Mhm.
philosophical wellness, also, health wellness. I mean, she's been my patient for a number of years now.
Yes. Yes.
She comes regularly all the time, and so that's how she lives her life.
Right.
And I think it's awesome to have that kind of vision of life and do things that are proper. So many people in this life that you meet are, not proactive, they're reactive. They react to stuff, but they
Right.
don't really do things to be positive. They only respond to something as opposed to being proactive and,
Mhm.
living life a certain way. And that's what really amazes me about, people that I meet. We have some amazing people in this area. So,
That's
I'm glad to bring them to our viewers.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So, anything that you want to share? We're at that point now,
Mhm.
where we're gonna come to this conclusion. But is it anything you want to share to the listening audience, Kay, before you leave?
Well, I just would like to say again that we are all fearfully and wonderfully made for a purpose, and
Mhm.
that purpose is good. And if you're struggling to find a job, keep a job, or to be successful in the workplace, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to help you. If you would like to help someone, we would love to talk with you about being a volunteer, and so that you can have an impact. Because our mission at Megiddo is to make an immediate and eternal impact,
Mhm.
Awesome,
because we feel like that goes hand in hand.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And I think you're doing exactly that. You're doing exactly that. And uh, continue to do the great work, continue to change lives. Dr. Dan, any last words?
No, I just want her to have the spotlight today. That's all
Okay.
perfect.
All right.
And people know me already for so long, but I wanted her to, have this moment.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
I think we're good, and we got to have her back at some point as well. And
Most definitely.
some other stuff, but that's
Most
wonderful.
Anytime. So again, thank you so much for joining us on today. I wish Jackie could have been here with us. She would have really, really enjoyed it, but she'll get to see it. And keep doing what you're doing. You and your organization, you guys are making a change in not just the community, but the community and beyond. So continue to do what you're doing. And like you say, God gave you the hard job, so he's going to send you the hard people, but he knows that you can get the job done.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And Dr. Dan, we'll see you next month.
I'll be here. We'll see you then.
All right. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow. Megiddo. That's awesome. I tell you, I miss my side piece not being with me today, but that's okay. But livetheplan.org. Get in touch with Megiddo if you trying to get back in the workforce and you need some help in doing that. This 8-week program will help you. Not only are they going to teach you some job skills, but they're going to teach you how to maintain, how to work with others, how to be on that job and be a positive influence to others around you. So that is a great program, and you can get more information. As I said, go to the website at livetheplan.org. All right. So we thank you for listening to Help Matters right here. We want you to like our Facebook page at Get Fit with Jackie Fitness and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Help Matters Jackie and Coach. Remember, we're here to help you to become a better you, to be the best you that you can be. 3 John 2 says, Beloved, I wish above all things, that you may prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. You guys have a healthy and blessed day.
Health is life. Your health matters. You matter. Health begins in the spirit and the mind. Take time to love you. Live well. Be well.
Yeah, let's go.
Health matters to me.
Come on, get up, cause you tuned into the station for your morning motivation to get your education for your health and your spiritual needs.
Health matters to me.
Yeah, strong will to empower the people, to promote the peace, though positive attitudes, behavior, that's a lifelong dream goals.
Health matters to me.
Yeah, health matters and we're here to help you become the better you, to be the best you, the best version you can be.
Health matters to me.
Yeah, and it's time for this classic, fantastic food for your soul. Here's Jackie and Coach Patrick right here. Let's go.
Health matters to me.